Well, welcome everyone. I'm Kent Edwards, the Sustainability Officer for the City of Delray Beach, and really glad that you have joined us to take a look at a video for our Earth Month activities. And these videos are some basic science and background on climate change, which is something that everyone should be interested in and know a little bit about. So hope that you enjoy the videos for today. Again, I am Ken Edwards. I have been with the City of Delray Beach for 4 years, and in sustainability office, we work on all kinds of projects related to efficiency and climate mitigation. So we do have a whole calendar of events that we'd like to mention to you. If you go to our delraybeachfl.gov site and scroll down to the bottom of that page, click on the more events, and it'll take you to the whole calendar. But later today, we also have the First Friday Art Walk, and want to give a shout out to one of our partners at Arts Warehouse. They have some exhibits going on there. So please check out all of the events that you can, and we'll be posting videos on our YouTube channel. We are recording right now, and so please check those out. All right, I would like to welcome Nathan Crabb from Florida Atlantic University, and they were the creators of the videos that we're going to look at today. So welcome, Nathan.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on this webinar today. Once again, I'm Nathan Crabb. I'm editor of the Invading Sea, and the Invading Sea is a nonpartisan website that publishes news, commentary, and educational content about climate change and other environmental issues affecting Florida. And the website is managed by the Center for Environmental Studies at Florida Atlantic University. And one of the things that the center has done since taking over management of the website is we've started to develop a series of videos that we call bite-sized videos. And the idea is that there are a lot of concepts, scientific concepts related to climate change that people hear regularly on the news, but that don't get explained very often. And so what we try to do with these videos is, with the help of digital animation, is to explain them in about a minute or less. And so we're going to be watching some of these videos today, and I hope you enjoy them.
Thanks a lot, Nathan. We really appreciate that. I think the content is great, so looking forward to that. And also with us is my cohort, Chris Chittister, who works in the Office of Sustainability also. Chris, please introduce yourself and take us to the first video.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on climate change terminology. Hope you enjoy it. Here's your first video.
What are greenhouse gases? Greenhouse gases trap heat in the Earth's atmosphere, acting like a blanket. They include carbon dioxide produced by vehicles, electricity generation, and factories, methane from landfills, livestock, and rice production, nitrous oxide from fertilizers, and hydrofluorocarbons from air conditioning and refrigeration systems. Their accumulation in the atmosphere leads to the greenhouse effect, causing global temperatures to increase by preventing some of the sun's heat from escaping back into space. For more information, visit our website.
So I think it's good to start off the video session today with defining what greenhouse gases are. There's been a lot of talk about these, and I'm sure everyone has heard, but then it's important to remember that greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide are very well understood compounds and very common. Carbon dioxide is a part of respiration. I mean, our living being, we exhale carbon dioxide as the end product of respiration. And plants then take up carbon dioxide and use it for growth and building their tissues. So carbon dioxide is a very important compound, and as such, as you would think, we can monitor that concentration. And what has been found in the atmosphere is that there's been an increase of more than 50% of the concentration of carbon dioxide over the last 100 years. And I mean, from my standpoint as a scientist and just in everyday life, an increase of 50% of something can really be significant. And I'll give a school example. If you have a grade of 60 as opposed to a 50% higher grade of 90, then that's a pretty significant difference. So you can get an idea with carbon dioxide going up 50% in the atmosphere, and carbon dioxide having a physical chemical characteristic of absorbing heat energy and trapping that heat energy to warm the atmosphere, it would make sense. And in fact, we have seen with that increase in carbon dioxide concentration that there actually is a warming climate. So in next videos, we want to actually talk about some of the effects that a warming climate of air and water will have on the environment and on our everyday lives.
What causes sea level rise? Sea level rise is driven by thermal expansion and the melting of land-based ice. Thermal expansion is when materials expand in response to changes in temperature. When a substance is heated, its molecules gain energy and move more vigorously, causing them to spread out and take up more space. As temperatures increase, ocean waters warm up and expand, causing sea levels to rise. The warming air and water contribute to land-based ice sheets melting, further increasing water volume in the oceans. In recent years, the rate of sea level rise has accelerated. Sea levels along the U.S. coastline are projected to rise approximately 1 foot over the next 30 years. That's as much as the last 100 years in 1/3 of the time. For more information, visit our website.
So again, one of the main effects as seen in the video there is with a warmer atmosphere, ice will melt and that liquid then joins the ocean. But another factor that isn't as well known is that when liquids are warmed like water, they actually are going to expand. Before you get to the boiling point, you'll have that reorganization in the molecules. And so you actually have a small factor where just a little bit warmer water is going to expand. And even though that's a very small factor, you're talking about a huge volume of water in the ocean. So that amount of expansion actually of that huge volume of ocean water adds up to a observable amount of elevation change along our shoreline. And so for a community like the city of Delray Beach, right on the ocean front, it's really something that we should pay attention to. And, we are working on mitigation factors, protecting our dune and preparing in other kinds of ways.
What is a storm surge? A storm surge happens when water is forced toward the coast by a combination of powerful winds and low pressure from a hurricane. The result can be coastal flooding, threatening lives and property. Storm surges can reach several feet when they happen during high tide, but even smaller levels can be enough to cause damage.
So we're trying to build on the concepts here, and so greenhouse gases lead to a warming atmosphere and leads to a higher sea level rise. The storm surge comes from tropical storms, for example, and with a warming climate, we have warmer water, and the reason why we have hurricanes form in hurricane season is that that's when there is warmer water. So with higher temperatures in our water levels, and this past summer there was a measurement off of Key Largo of more than 100 degrees Fahrenheit of ocean water. That warm water is fueling stronger storms, which leads to a storm surge. And if we have sea level rise with the normal ocean level, then that's an additional elevation of water that storm surge is above. Plus, if we have heavier rainfall events because warmer air holds more water, then we really start to see a significant impact that we need to be aware of. And all of these different factors are related to climate change, and they can affect our built environment. And the next video kind of builds on this storm and warm water idea as we talk about flooding.
What is a flood zone? Floods can happen anywhere, but some places are more likely to flood than others. These higher risk places are called floodplains, and they're usually near rivers, lakes, or oceans that overflow during heavy rain. Sometimes places far away from water can also be at risk of flooding. Scientists use past rainfall and flooding records to map floodplain boundaries. In the United States, the 100-year floodplain is often used as a reference for insurance purposes. This area has a minimum 1% chance of flooding each year, and at least a 26% chance of flooding over a 30-year period. Visit our website for more information.
So flooding is a great issue to be able to raise awareness as far as how climate change affects individual people. This is not an academic argument. Climate change has effects, and we earlier talked about the warming climate and the melting water and stronger storms, and also the warmer air holding more water and leading to more rain. That rain, along with the other kinds of storms and things, is what causes flooding. And when structures are flooded, that's an economic issue. It causes damage that then pulls money out of the economy in order to repair structures. It interferes with normal economic activities. If roads are flooded, then people can't get around. It becomes a safety issue also. So again, climate change leads to effects that we're encountering on almost a daily basis, and so it's really something that we need to be aware of and start to be able to plan. In the city of Delray Beach, we do have a flood master plan, and we're having sessions like this to bring awareness of the impacts of climate change. So we talked a good bit about some of the indirect effects of the warming atmosphere and storms. Now I want to talk a little bit about the direct effect on heat and some more ways that it affects individual people.
What is the urban heat island effect? The heat island effect is when urban areas experience higher temperatures than rural areas. Buildings and roads absorb more heat from the sun compared to forests, open fields, and other natural landscapes. Cities also have more cars, air conditioning units, and activities that generate heat, which can be trapped between tall buildings. Studies estimate daytime temperatures can be up to 7 degrees Fahrenheit higher, and nighttime temperatures up to 5 degrees Fahrenheit higher in urban areas. For more information, visit our website.
Oh, it's pretty obvious that when we have a warmer climate, that it's going to be hotter, and we have experienced the hottest summers on record, and very warm winters. In South Florida and all over the world. And in urban areas, and Delray Beach is not the big city, but we certainly have a good bit of concrete and asphalt and built environment. And those kinds of materials have been shown by research that it'll be 5 to even more degrees higher in temperature. So selecting materials for construction that we have, reducing the amount of asphalt and surfaces that are impervious and that also has flooding impact also. But reducing those surfaces that will absorb energy from the sun and then radiate it back as heat really is an important part of construction in an area. And there's also mitigation that can be done. So the city, Delray Beach, has a tree planting program that we're in the third year of a 5-year program. We've got around 6,000 trees that we already have put on the way to putting in 10,000. And that increased tree canopy coverage actually has a benefit to address the urban heat island. So here's where I like to point out to people, climate change is a big issue. It does have very significant effects, but there are things that we can do as governments and as cities, but also that we can do as individuals that will really make a difference. And I'm going to have a video about another heat-related issue that even more is closely related to individuals and individual health.
You know, Kent, I thought I'd also point out that a 7-degree increase in temperature is a considerable increase on the load on your building that you're asking your HVAC system to handle. It really affects your pocketbook. It affects the longevity of the equipment. There are financial implications of an out-of-control heat island effect.
Absolutely.
What is the heat index? The heat index, also known as the apparent temperature or feels like temperature, is a measure that combines the actual air temperature and relative humidity to reflect how hot the air feels to the human body. When it's humid, our bodies have a harder time cooling down through sweating because the sweat doesn't evaporate as quickly. For example, if the temperature was 94 degrees Fahrenheit with a relative humidity of 62%, the heat index would be 112 degrees Fahrenheit, meaning that the air feels like 112 degrees Fahrenheit to our bodies.
So, this is a really important point in a lot of different ways because it's going to affect everyone. I mean, as Chris mentioned, when it's hotter outside, air conditioners are going to run more, and that means more money is going to be spent on that electricity. So it is a economic factor directly. Also, a big part of the economy is outdoor workers, and working outdoors, as we all do at times, when it's hot in the middle of the day, that has a health effect on workers. And with that temperature rising, then it's a safety issue for the workplace that employers have to address. And it can be a kitchen table kind of issue where it has a health effect on those workers, especially during the hottest days of the summer. It can actually affect workers' ability to work. So I really like to start off like today with talking about the science, and there is a background that leads us to understand that the climate is warming. But with that information, what is the effect going to be? And this heat index is one that has economic and health effects on a very broad basis. So we've talked about a lot of issues related to people in these last couple of videos. In our final one, we have a environmental effect that's one of the ones I really like to use in my talks.
What is coral bleaching? Coral bleaching occurs when corals expel the colorful algae living within their tissues due to environmental stress. Reefs are stressed primarily because of increasing water temperatures, and ocean temperatures are getting hotter due to climate change. Prolonged bleaching weakens corals, making them more vulnerable to disease and death. Decimating Florida's coral reef has far-ranging consequences, as it provides habitat and food for your favorite marine species, buffers the coast from storms, and benefits the local economy. For more information, visit our website.
So the environmental effects of climate change are significant, and I always like to start off and mention how heat and climate change affects people, like we have seen with flooding and storms and heat index. But um, one of the ways that it's really apparent to me that climate change is happening is um, I have worked in the environmental field for multiple decades and was fortunate enough to go diving in the Keys in the mid 80s and live in the Keys for 6 years. And we have lost more than 90% or more than 95% of the coral cover. This is a living organism that builds hard structure that actually protects against storm surge and has taken eons for that coral reef to develop. So for that amount of that living organism to be lost in just a couple of decades is not a normal kind of functioning in the environment. And the increase in the temperature of the water is a main factor in causing that to happen. The warm water stresses the coral. It causes the symbiotic algae that are in the coral to really become toxic, like the video was saying. So it makes them less healthy because they get food from those algae, and ultimately it is an increase in temperature that has led to a lot of coral die-off. So that's a big economic feature. Not only is it protection of upland structures, but all of the tourism value, and that's without just appreciating the beauty of the coral and the coral reef system itself. And in Florida, we are fortunate enough to have the only barrier reef in the United States. So we are a very special place, and because of climate change, we have lost a good bit of that coral coverage. Good news is that there's mitigation activities for that, and one of our talks coming up on April 20. At the Cornell Museum is going to be made by the Reef Institute, where they talk about reef protection and restoration efforts. So I mentioned the calendar of all our Earth Day and Earth Month events. Please check those out, and please come out to the Cornell Museum to see the talks on April 20. With that, I would really like to thank Nathan again, and really appreciate FAU's participation in the video.
Well, thank you. Thanks for showing those videos, and I appreciate all the comments that you made after them. This is an academic, right? This is actual stuff that we're feeling, in our day-to-day lives here in Florida. I think last year was a great, that's not a great indication, a depressing indication of that. We had extreme heat during the summer. We had extreme bleaching of the reefs, as you mentioned. We had flooding, historic rain events like the one that shut down the Fort Lauderdale airport. So we're feeling these impacts in our daily lives here in Florida, especially. So I think it's important for people to understand why these things are happening, and that's what the videos hope to accomplish. But at the Invading Sea, what we also want to do is start dialogue on solutions and both ways to reduce the causes and the consequences of climate change. The Center for Environmental Studies, which runs the Invading Sea, has done a survey twice a year for the last several years about people's views on climate change. And what it shows is here in Florida, there is growing bipartisan understanding and agreement about climate change, which is a good thing because this issue shouldn't be a political issue. And what we hope to do is encourage nonpartisan dialogue about this, that we can all be part of discussing solutions. And I encourage you to visit the website to see some of the pieces that we publish and that we also share with newspapers across Florida discussing some of those solutions. And if you think you have something to add to the discussion, to add to that conversation, I encourage you to write something for the site as well as Kent did himself. So once again, thank you for having me part of this webinar and for showing the videos.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Nathan. And Chris, did you have any wrap-up comments?
No, just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for joining us, and hopefully you learned something.
Okay. All right. Well, hope everyone has a happy Earth Month, and please check out our activities again, and have a good Earth Month. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.